then you went too far. When your ship has sailed and all your dreams are lost, everything is wrong, you feel like it's your fault. Just remember, I will be there for you, baby. Remember, there's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. There's nothing out there to get you, don't forget it. When life throws lemons, just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me. Just call on me.
Ladies and gentlemen, racing fans around the world, around the country, and in the United States, welcome to Michigan International Speedway, virtual of course, where tonight the Icon Racing Series Holiday Mixer season continues to deliver pure, high-octane adrenaline and racing. The virtual grandstands are packed, the engines are primed, and we are ready to roll into round number 3 with the iconic car of tomorrow. Now, Alan, this is a car that we haven't seen in a long time. This one's a little different, doesn't have the wing on the back. This is where they moved to the spoiler for the car of tomorrow. But we're going to see some extremely impressive racing. Speeds are going to be unforgiving. Incidents can happen in a hurry. As the cars begin to roll off, tonight's race is 100 laps of strategy, speed, and survival. There's going to be 3 stages of competition, cautions on lap 25, lap 50. Tire management's going to be key. There are 5 additional sets of tires, but you're not really going to have the opportunity to use all of those sets, Alan, and that's something that's worth mentioning for this race. The drivers get 24 incidents points or they are disqualified. 2 races in. Go on, Alan.
Let's say 2 races in the books already for the holiday mixer, and the championship battle is just starting to take shape. Brian Smith, the king of Chicagoland, has proven he's a contender after that stellar victory, race number 2. Meanwhile, Sean Purcell, our Daytona Dominator, is hungry for a checkered flag as he charges towards the top of the leaderboard.
Take a moment. The front row is made up of Brian Smith and Kyle Gilbert. Adam Ball, Patrick Colby is row 2. Kevin Gunther and Jacob Smith is row number 3. Row 4 is Cody Neal, Ryan Patty. Got to thank Ryan Patty for everything he does for the Icon Series. Row number 5, Brock Hersey, Hanover Fist, and Nathan Finnegan, Mike Jennings, that's going to be row number 6. Braxton DeWeese is going to round out the field. He's going to be 13th. We're going to have 13 drivers for this race. But, you know, that sounds like a small amount of cars. But these guys are going to be doing 207 miles per hour. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Jonathan Leach. I've already said his name a few times. Alan Bergen in the booth with me here for the Icon Holiday Mixer as we're green flag racing at Michigan in the car of tomorrow, not with the wing, but the spoiler. Get ready for 207 miles per hour.
And already, Brian Smith out to the early lead over Kyle Gilbert. And these guys are going to utilize the draft. That's why they're going to get that fast.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in the warm-up session, 207 into the corner. We might see faster as Brian Smith and Kyle Gilbert are really getting after it up front. Now, these guys, I can't imagine they've had a ton of practice in these cars as we've got a side-by-side battle already on lap 1 between Cody Neal and Nathan Finnegan to the number 4, Cody Neal in the Red Bull machine. And then I'm showing an 88 for... I think that's Nathan Finnegan. He is the number 6 machine, but the paint reflecting a really nice Dale Jr. scheme. Back up front, Brian Smith just in front of Kyle Gilbert. We're going to see insane speeds. These cars are very fast. They're very twitchy. We're going to get some good in-car views of this. It's really going to be a good one.
Yeah, right now, as you can see, Kyle Gilbert looking underneath Brian Smith for the early lead. He's going to go side by side and not quite be able to make that pass. You're going to need a lot of momentum on your side and definitely a few help from future friends.
And right here we're watching Jacob Smith and Kevin Gunther back and forth. This is for 6th place. Worth mentioning, you know, Brian Smith and Sean Purcell did win the first 2 races, but we got to keep an eye on other star drivers like Nathan Finnegan, Jacob Smith, and Adam Ball. These guys are all in the top 7, top half of the field, as we're 3 wide racing already. And see, that can happen in a hurry with this machine. It's just so twitchy.
Yeah, it's just very twitchy, and, you know, I don't want to discount these drivers. There's a lot of talent in this field. Wow, the 9 car, he's going to go and run away and hide. But here comes the 8 car, Braxton DeWeese. He's going to be looking underneath that 30 car. That 30 car losing wholesale positions.
Yeah, I mean, I hate that kind of changed the way your thought was going right there, but you see how the one thing that's unique is that 30 car, unlike the next gen car, and the next gen car, you hit that wall, you're dropping all these positions, but this COT car of tomorrow, high horsepower, has the ability to kind of rev that motor back up and then be back right there with them. So he's lost a few spots because Michigan is very momentum based. But, you know, in the next-gen car would have been much worse as we've got ourselves some more chaos right here as we're following that Mike Jenkins machine. He's a 16, showing a number 9 paint right here. And he's trying to chase down that Kevin Gunther machine.
Oh, boy, there we go. These guys are getting sideways coming down that back straightaway. And, John, I mean, we got 20 laps to get to lap 25. And that's going to be the first stage break because we are on board with Mike Jennings right now. And you can see him working that wheel. He's not really stalling on it just yet, but he is working that wheel pretty well.
Well, something that you can do on this car, and perhaps someone can correct me if I'm wrong, with the high horsepower, you can really drive it off the right rear. You don't need as much wheel input as you see right here because you can really use the throttle to help make the corners. And really that high line 1 and 2 right there at Michigan is very, very good. If you can run that the whole race, you tend to pick up momentum on the cars in front of you. As you see right here into 3 and 4, as it looks like he's going to have the advantage on Gunther. If you can get side by side with him out of the corner, the 31 won't be able to drive up the track, and he ought to be able to take that position away. And it sure looks like he's going to be able to, as he's going to follow the Adam Ball machine. So, I mean, a couple drivers that we've already been talking about as far as contenders in this series.
Yeah, the other thing I want to point out, too, is you got to watch out for those tar strips, as you will, down the back straightaway and around the corner. Those tar strips will get your car upset, and then you'll be you know, taking the slide for life.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, these cars, I'm a little bit surprised. I thought they had a little less downforce than what we're seeing. But it seems like they're sticking pretty well as long as you stay in the throttle. Take a look at that 9. He's actually running, that's an old Dodge. We haven't seen, not 9, that's 16 running the number 9 paint. So we got 2 9 cars. The 16 of Mike Jennings, for some reason, is paint loaded as a number 9 Budweiser, but it's a Dodge. As you can see, what he's running right there. And to the inside of him is Patrick Colby, and the 9 is that. As the fake 9, the 16, gets wicked loose after striking the wall. Kevin Gunther looking for an opportunity to take the position in 3.
Yeah, the Kevin Gunther in the 31 car. When's the last time we saw a Lowe's car with a 31 on the side other than in the real world? I mean, this is taking me back to like the late 90s and early 2000s.
I mean, it's really been a long time.
I mean, the 2 throwbacks going after it. You haven't seen a Dodge in NASCAR in years, and here they are just getting after it.
Good time to take a look at the race information. Michigan Motor Speedway is 2 miles long. Track temperature 77 degrees, about 1,000 feet above sea level. Not a very hot day in Brooklyn, Michigan. It's, virtual, but this racetrack for many of the years past in August was blistering, but this might be a little closer to what the June race is going to look like as they move that on the regular NASCAR circuit for 2025. Take a look at this car, the 227. It's almost like he's running a next-gen paint on a COT car.
And that number 16 car / 9 car gets into the wall once again. It's almost like he's coming off of turn 2 sideways, John, and you got to. And you can't discount the talent. He's been able to keep that car straight.
And here's Furniture Row, Denver Mattress Machine of Brian Smith. What a really nice kind of tribute car, we might say, to Martin Truex Jr. It's just a really good-looking machine right there. And I just got to appreciate this car and this generation of racing. A lot of people during this time, kind of hated on NASCAR, saying the 90s was better, but this was a menace for a machine to drive around the racetrack. High horsepower, a lot of fun to witness at the racetrack, and just very different than what we have now, and just a different generation, but a really fun car, one that I would enjoy the opportunity to drive virtually, and if that ever does present itself. But as you start to see here, we got our top 4. They're sort of sneaking away ever so slightly from everybody else, but no one is really getting that separated.
No, they're not. And as you see a couple of guys trying that outside line, there goes the 16. He's going to lose wholesale positions here. As the field goes by him, that's Mike Jennings dropping down to 9th right now.
And and it's funny, I want to go back to talking about Nathan Finnegan. So Nathan Finnegan has not won a race. He does have the highest average finishing position over the first 2 races, finishing 2nd as his average. So it's worth noting that he knows how to finish near the front, and we ought to be paying close attention to this number 88 or 6 on the timing and scoring of Nathan Finnegan. See what he can do. Currently running 7th, right behind Braxton DeWeese and Jacob Smith. It looks like there's a Chris DeWeese rooting on Braxton in the YouTube chat. Want to thank you for stopping in to say something and rooting on your driver right here, Chris. And we are live on both Facebook and YouTube. So if you want to see us on Facebook, if that's easier for you, Sim Racing Media, you can't miss us. And once again, thank you all for being here tonight for the Icon Holiday Mixer Series, where we're in the car of tomorrow. A far cry difference from what most leagues are running regularly. But this is a different kind of season, Alan. This was kind of more of a fun season, a competitive thing to do during December, during the holidays. As we got a car going around. As we were speaking of him, the commentator's curse. Or is this more or less the fans' curse? And he took a big hit right there, Braxton DeWeese did.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. The fans' curse and the commentator's curse.
Yeah, boy. Yeah, this is pretty rough. That was a bad hit, but it's almost like this is a tougher machine too, but I just, being the COT car, we have no idea what the damage model looks like with it. I have zero experience broadcasting or racing this machine as the with the latest models out. So I mean, hopefully he'll be able to continue.
Yeah, they'll get these things all fixed back up, and then he'll be out there good as new. But nonetheless, we got about 10 laps until the stage break, so he's got time. He can come in, get a couple minutes fixed now, get a couple minutes fixed later. I think it all looks cosmetic.
Hopefully so. Something worth noting is, the next gen car gets around here in about 41 seconds. These guys all coming down pit road, led by Brian Smith. They're running 38.93s, almost 2 seconds faster than the next gen series car, and they're 207 into the corners, which is just incredible as the field comes down pit road. So they're going to get a pit stop before the stage break at lap 25. And we do have a car, Jacob Smith, choosing to stay out in that number 21. I kind of anticipate he's going to turn around and come grab tires here in a minute. And I wish we knew what the tire wear looked like for these guys after that, 15 lap stint right there.
Yeah, I mean, every time we try to anticipate tire wear and pit strategy, they zig and we zag, so we'll be sitting here all night trying to burn a calculator in half. Nonetheless, Jacob Smith on the front row. He's going to be starting on the front row, along with Patrick Colby. When we come back to green here on lap number 18, so it's going to be almost a 5 to 6 lap sprint to the end of the stage.
That's going to be really interesting to see here. We'll take a moment to mention Premier Racing Setups, partner of here at Sim Racing Media. One of several well-known racing setup shops. If you interested in looking for something different than what you haven't been doing before, give them a shout and give them a look. Check in our description. We've got a link for you there, and you get 15% off if you use code SRM15. And I know a lot of members of my community here at Sim Racing Media have utilized their setups, and I personally have not, but I've heard a lot of great things. Richard Murtaugh and those guys are doing some good stuff over at Premier Racing Setups.
Not to get away from it, I did win 2 races on one of them.
Which, is incredible. So here's the Braxton DeWeese machine, that number 8. He's cruising around 192 miles per hour in that white number 8. I'm going to go ahead and assume that machine is just fine.
I mean, you can get damage in the right spots and it'll actually make you a little bit better. That right there, the left fender might be out of the air enough, it might actually help his downforce.
Yeah, it looks pretty good to me, Alan. I think he's still going to be rather competitive. But as we're down the backstretch, as he is rapidly closing in on the field, Jacob Smith on old tires is going to lead the field to green. We're about to find out what tires can do for you at Michigan. We know they're worth a lot in the other machines, and really on sim racing, you just always need tires. They just don't seem to be as strong old tires as what you see when you're at the racetrack for real life conditions. Jacob Smith, Patrick Colby, Kevin Gunther, Adam Ball, Cody Neal is going to be the top 5 as the pace truck down pit road into the restart zone. Race fans, we're back to green for a short stint to the stage 1. Jacob Smith, kind of shoots out of a cannon right there. Maybe that's the difference. By running warmer tires, you're just kind of able to get off a little bit quicker at the start than the rest of the guys. The gaggle of machines behind them.
So we're 3 wide back here around the Kyle Gilbert, Nathan Finnegan, and Kevin Gunther area as they're going to get this all sorted out. We only got a few laps till we get to the end of the stage. But here we go. You guys are going to battle it out. And this is what I love about stage racing. Is it puts that sense of urgency on the drivers. Whether you're in the front, you're in the back. And this league carries these stages through their whole regular season.
Right here on the Kyle Gilbert right rear suspension shot, you can really see, you know, the racing surface and what it looks like and just how close these drivers are getting to that wall. I mean, both of these guys are within 2 feet. And ladies and gentlemen, this is a virtual. That's a lot harder to judge than just turn your head, look right, and see the wall out the window. Pretty good, pretty close to the wall. Rather impressive to see. As Brian Smith has retaken the lead. Jacob Smith's tires are failing him as he's moved back to 5th, getting passed now by the 31 to the high side, while others, Ryan Patty and Mike Jennings, are going to try to follow suit.
Yeah, here we go. We got Jacob Smith falling back, but right now Nathan Finnegan has set fast time with a 38.37 that last lap. I mean, Nathan Finnegan's hauling the mail. He's up 8 spots. Jacob Smith, he's had enough. He's going to go down pit road. Let's see how he does getting on. And textbook pit road entrance. It's almost like he practiced it for an hour.
Yeah, you know, this might give him an opportunity. He's going to go a lap down, but he'll be the only car a lap down. I'm not certain if there's lucky dogs here. I would assume that they kept those kind of they kept those rules in place for the Holiday Mixer Series. Brian Smith is out in front by 1/4 of a second. Nathan Finnegan's 3/4 of a second off first. And then you got 2.5 to the rest of the field. So the top 3 this time, you know, really taken off as opposed to the rest of the field. Jacob Smith exiting pit road, you know, on pit road for 32 seconds. And he's going to stay on the lead lap with that pit stop.
Yeah, I mean, all he's got to do is hold on long enough to that lead lap till they get to lap 25, and then he can breathe a little bit, because then he'll be right back on the same cycle as the other drivers.
And you can see the gap right there, only about a 1/10 of the track. Sorry to cut you off. I just wanted to get that pointed out there.
Oh no, you're good. But here comes the leaders, and it's only gonna be a matter of time. Now, when Brian Smith gives to Jacob Smith, what's he going to do with him? Is Brian going to kind of hold him up, or is Jacob going to kind of play protector to Brian?
Well, it looks like they got about 3 seconds to that. I'm not quite sure if they're going to get there to him, as we only got a couple laps until we get to what we need to get to. And the stage. I was losing my train of thought for a split moment. 2 laps remaining here until stage break number 1. It's really been the Brian Smith show, but Kyle Gilbert, Nathan Finnegan have been there the whole time. Braxton DeWeese, I don't want to say he's a little slow, but perhaps he's just being careful, biding his time, currently running in 12th.
Yeah, there he is. You're not wrong. He might be trying to lift that thing to the end of the stage, so that way he can go in there, maybe get a little more damage fixed, and keep working on it. He knows there's going to be a few more cautions. He's already see it playing out. And, you know, John, I think we pointed out once, but we'll point out again, look how sideways these cars are when they come around the corner.
Well, again, that kind of goes back to driving off the right rear of these machines. We'll go to the cockpit view here of Nathan Finnegan, who's using a lot more wheel than we saw, I think, when we were watching, I believe it might have been Brian Smith earlier. Perhaps it was Finnegan, but let's watch him into turns 3 and 4, and we're going to expect the yellow light to come on in just a couple moments. He has a lot more wheel right there, but still smooth.
Yeah, I believe this time by will be the end of stage 1.
There's Hanover Fist in the number 69 machine. Look at that front paint scheme. It almost looks like Brock Lesnar. As the yellow flag is going to come out, Brian Smith is going to win stage number 1. We did pit 15 laps ago, so we're going to expect pit stops right here once again. And Alan, this might be a good time to pull in a driver of choice at post pit stops. And let's kind of figure out how this racing surface is driving and what it's like with these high horsepower cars. If you could take care of that, again, post pit stops, as the current running orders: Brian Smith, Kyle Gilbert, Nathan Finnegan, Mike Jennings, Patrick Colby, Ryan Patty, Adam Ball, Cody Neal, Hanover Fist, Kevin Gunther, Brock Hersey, Braxton DeWeese, and Jacob Smith as the current running order, a quarter of the race through.
See how many of these guys come down pit road. I imagine they all would come down pit road, but I already got my eye on who we're going to talk to after they make their pit stops.
I mean, it seems like, 5 sets of tires. Everybody's taking 1 set of tires, with the exception of Jacob Smith. He came down for just, it looks like, gas and go. Had a 3-second stop. So I'm a little surprised that he made the stop that he did, but perhaps he decided it wasn't a good idea to pit for tires. So he's got 5 sets. I expect him to certainly take tires here. And the rest of the field seems to feel the same way.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little more controlled to get down pit road off the racetrack under caution than it would be under green. But nonetheless, I always try to drive this track like Auto Club, and I know you can't do that because it's a whole different animal.
Yeah, I mean, Auto Club's really wide out of turn 4, but it's very fooling. That wall comes out really quick because you're always trying to be quick to the throttle out of turn 4. And Michigan, the banking helps you out a little bit more, and you don't kind of chase the wall out. So Mike Jennings, no tires for the number 16 in scoring, 9 car here. Everybody else behind him, starting with Brian Smith, did take 4 tires. Fastest pit stop was 14:13. That was by Adam Ball. And he was the fastest time on pit road, with the exception of Mike Jennings, who did not take tires.
All right, John, we're going to go ahead and talk to our Stage 1 winner. It's going to be Brian Smith up here in the broadcast booth, maybe. It's not going to work out. We'll talk to... Well, we were going to talk to, or let's talk to Ryan. Ryan, it's John and Alan in the SRM booth. You got a copy?
Hey guys, what's going on?
Hey, look, man, you're what's coming on. And I didn't mean to get you mid pit stop. Boy, my timing today has been off. Anyways, what's the track feel like out there to you?
Sorry, say that again?
What's the track feel like to you?
Hang on a second. Just pulling in here. Don't want to miss my box. All right, we're good. Track is slick, not a lot of grip. These cars are one heck of a handful.
We apologize grabbing you right here. We weren't anticipating, a handful of you guys coming down to try to pack some more fuel into it for this one. Are these machines sucking a lot more gas than, say, the next gen or the Xfinity cars here that we're used to seeing nowadays on the iRacing service?
Yeah, a ton. Yeah, that's the thing we really weren't expecting. We're getting just over 21 laps per gallon. So with a 25 lap stage and a little saving, we might be able to get there. I really don't know. We'll see if we get any. I mean, what is it, lap 30? We got to go to lap 50. So yeah, we might just be on the limit here.
All right. Well, Ryan, we appreciate it. It looks like you guys are going to green. So Alan, please send them back to the field so we can call this one. Have a good race, and maybe we'll talk to you at the end.
Sounds good. Thanks, guys.
And that was the voice of Ryan Patty, the owner of this wonderful series. And Right now, Mike Jennings is getting ready to bring that field down to green. Iracing.com pace car peels off on the pit road. It's going to be Jennings, Smith on the front road through the Geico restart zone, and we are back racing here on lap number 30.
And so curious to see how Mike Jennings does without tires, and it doesn't look like it's going to go well, but perhaps he's expecting, we know about 21 miles per tank that you're going to have to stop, and maybe he can get a stop where he doesn't, where he can get tires and the rest of the field cannot. Curious to see how he can fare with the older tires. They're only about 8 laps old, as now you see the 227 of Kyle Gilbert looking to the inside for the lead.
And he's going to get that. He's going to slide up right in front of that 16 car / 9 car. Here he comes. The 227 gives the lead to Kyle Gilbert.
Now, I'm not sure that was intentional for Mike Jennings right there, as much so as this machine is just a little bit looser than the others with the tire wear. We'll keep an eye on him, see where he's running a little bit higher. Yeah, definitely sideways right there through the corner. He is fighting a loose race car with fresh tires that have a little more grip behind him, as here comes Nathan Finnegan, that 88 machine, to the inside of Brian Smith.
We're getting ready to go 3 wide once again. Finnegan, Smith, and Jennings 3 wide. Oh boy. I didn't think that was going to end well.
Now Finnegan not, using the entire racing surface and as aggressive as possible, not giving an inch, trying to pick up the draft from either one of these guys to figure out which one is going to have the momentum to give him an advantage to get by a car on the racing surface. You may not get by both of them, but if you get by one of them, that's still a net gain. That's Finnegan, to the left rear quarter panel of the 9, as the 78's going to arc down into the corner, which is going to take the line away that Finnegan wanted. Finnegan going to have to slide right up in front of the 9. That was an aggressive slide job right there, but he is going to take that position away.
Mike Jennings doing everything he can to keep that car under him. But right now, the real battle going on is between Finnegan and Smith, and that's a battle for second. Not one of these guys giving up an inch or even a centimeter, as these guys now Smith is trying to pull away a little bit.
And while that's happening, Kyle Gilbert is ahead by about half a second as those guys are fighting. Adam Ball is 5th. He's about a half second behind that group of 3. And a little further back, you got some side-by-side racing between Kevin Gunther, Hanover Fist, and Brock Hersey, running the Rainbow Warrior 24 machine, which is kind of nice to see. He didn't run it in this era, but it's still a cool throwback to see right here, as that 24, as just look how low that splitter is. That splitter is scraping the surface, and you can see it right there on that left front cam, and just look how low that splitter is, just barely off the ground.
And that's how you wanted them. I mean, you could damage any other part of the car, but if you damage that splitter, your day was over.
As you see Hersey look to the inside of the Lowe's 31 machine. Doesn't quite have the momentum right now, but perhaps he can get a good drive out of turn number 2. Give him an opportunity, as these guys have chased down Kyle Gilbert a little bit now that they're not fighting, being Smith and Finnegan. Mike Jennings really doing a great job holding on with old tires, as here comes Adam Ball again with fresh tires. Looks like Jennings might have just got into 3 a little bit off, as he's sideways right there, giving up some time and some speed. He's about 2 miles an hour off the pace. Just has to stay in the way of that number 21. That's Jacob Smith. We saw him stay out on old tires. It didn't really work for him. Then came in for fuel to make it to the end. Now we know why. And then he got tires on the last pit stop, and now he's trying to make his way to the front.
Well, he's got to keep the car underneath him, as he just had a moment there with that 16 car of Mike Jennings. But here he comes up to the high side. He thinks he can make it work up there. I just don't think there's a whole lot of grip. We're 3 wide once again. Oh, they made contact.
Yeah, Jennings in the wall right there. The old tire's not going to work out for him, as he's going to find himself all the way back in 9th position. Make it 10th here in just a second, but he does save a set And you do know there's another caution, and with only 13 drivers, you're not out of this race, as we've got a battle for second.
Yeah, right here you're looking at Nathan Finnegan and Brian Smith. These guys are getting ready to battle it out, and it's a three-way battle for the lead.
And while that's
Brian
happening,
Smith got to run.
Yeah, and while that's happening, Ryan Patty, Cody Neal are going at it. Don't count out Jacob Smith just in front of them as well. So battles all over the racetrack as Brian Smith is looking to the outside of the 227 now. Nathan Finnegan kisses the wall, loses a bit of momentum, but he's got a pretty large engine with a lot of horsepower. Brian Smith's going to take the lead on the outside. Finnegan looking to take second away on the outside. Move Gilbert back to third, Smith to the point, and Finnegan to P2.
Brian Smith takes that lead back over. Don't count out these guys yet. These guys are battling hard. And if these guys can get single filed out, it's going to allow, Ball and Smith and Patty and even Neal to get up there and race for the lead a little bit before we go back under caution at the end of stage 2.
Yeah, so 10 laps away from that point, and Ryan Patty is right here in the middle between Jacob Smith and Cody Neal, and Smith just blinked out for a split second. His car's still on track. He's still here. That's one of those issues with iRacing, and virtual racing. Your internet connection plays a big role in how you're going to do. And as Cody Neal nearly touches the back bumper of Ryan Patty, and I don't reckon you want to touch each other with these machines based on how slick we were just told that it was. Now, these guys, they pitted lap 28. They're getting 21 laps of gas. Does that mean the top 4 who pitted on lap 27 did not get extra gas are going to need to pit? Because they're only going to be able to get to lap 38 based on what Ryan Patty told us in the interview, as he's going to slide right behind, right behind the 31 machine of Kevin Gunther. Or not Kevin Gunther. I'm looking at the 21 of Jacob Smith, my mistake. And this is just hard racing. It's so twitchy, Alan. It happens very fast. It just doesn't... There's not as much development needed in this race car or this type of racing as to what we're used to seeing.
I mean, if we had this caliber of racing, back then, I mean, I like this car better without the wing. This is always my favorite version of the COT model. I didn't really like the wing on there, but I do like the spoiler. This always produced a lot better racing.
Yeah, as a young kid, I thought the wing was a lot more cool, But as I age, the spoiler does a little bit better instead of having an aircraft wing on the back of of the vehicle. But they both do the same thing. They create downforce, but a lot of fans weren't really a fan of the they didn't particularly like the Rice wing, one might add.
I was never a fan of it. Hey, I am a fan, however, of Brian Smith and Nathan Finnegan battling for this lead, as it is so close, and Nathan's just right there. As these two are starting to pull away from Nathan or Adam Ball just a little bit.
Yeah, so Brian Smith has a race win. Finnegan and Adam Ball do not have race wins. Finnegan has the tied for the best average finish, and Adam Ball finished his average finish is 7.5. So he's got 2 top 10s, 1 top 5, and but just not quite as consistent over the first 2 races as Nathan Finnegan. But this is a very short 5-race season. The stats don't always tell the whole truth. Just kind of some gee whiz information while these guys are on track. A little further back, things get tighter still with Jacob Smith, Kyle Gilbert. You got Cody Neal, of course, and right back here, Braxton DeWeese, Brock Hersey. DeWeese still trying to recover from the impact earlier, running 9th.
He's got a little more of that damage fixed up, but here comes Hursley. He's going to try to take advantage of Braxton DeWeese. And we've seen Braxton DeWeese in a number of races we've broadcasted here on Sim Racing Media. He's always a front runner in all of those races. But kind of being just out of the way here in this one, points really not a factor here to win a championship or not. So kind of just being out of the way, kind of running his own race.
Yeah, well, as more of that machine gets repaired, he might not be out of it yet. 5 laps to go until we get to our stage break. They'll get fuel. We'll likely see at least 1, possibly 2 sets of green flag pit stops, as we've had 1 caution in this race so far. I'm not really expecting to see another. Kyle Gilbert is starting to give up positions quickly. Perhaps he's saving fuel, as Jacob Smith in the 21 has just managed to get by him. And Gilbert, I wish I could see some telemetry to tell you. And as he's looking back to the inside of Jacob Smith, that tells me perhaps he's not saving fuel, and he's just slowly falling back.
Yeah, I mean, as he's got Neil right behind him, that would be the next person to go underneath Kyle Gilbert there in that number 227. That's going to be a battle for 5th position. Now, the question is, how easily does he give up that top 5?
So Braxton DeWeese still holding off Hercia by about half a second. A little closer, a little more forward. That Kyle Gilbert machine under siege now from Cody Neal, as he's getting wicked loose. I'm sorry, that's Jacob Smith getting wicked loose right there on, the backstretch. And there's just so much power in that machine that he's still looking to make the pass back to get his position back from Kyle Gilbert. That was a big moment.
A big moment indeed, but here comes another big moment. Here comes Kyle Gilbert getting that 4th position back from Jacob Smith. These guys are side by side. There's all kinds of action going on this racetrack. We can barely keep up with all of it.
Wow, these cars are just a handful. As we're closing in on the stage mark, Brian Smith leads the way over Finnegan by 1.5 seconds. All the action's behind them around the 5th place mark. These guys are looking for a break that's going to come in 2 short miles.
Yeah, once they get to that 2nd stage break, they'll be able to catch their breath a little bit, hit the reset button, if you will, and get ready for that last 50-lap run to the end. And that's when we're going to see the green flag pit stops come into play. Only 1 caution for cause tonight, and that was earlier on in the race. But, here comes Jacob Smith looking underneath Kyle Gilbert once again. He's going to try to bring Cody Neal right along with him.
I take that back. 4 miles, not 2 miles. Now it is 2 miles remaining for Brian Smith. I misread the time right there. And we got Adam Ball leading the way here in 3rd. Just behind him, Kyle Gilbert, Jacob Smith. Gilbert managing to get back around Jacob Smith, who we thought was going to go around and be the 2nd caution of the night. Cody Neal, Patrick Colby. Smith into turn number 3, as we're about to complete 50 circuits around Michigan in the car of tomorrow for the Icon Holiday Mixer Series. Drivers trying to take a last-minute position here for the stage. The stage is going to go to Brian Smith, as Cody Neal was looking to get by, but does not. Stage number 2 is out. That being said, folks, Al and I are going to step away for our 1 break of the evening. We'll be back to call the green flag going back to the 2nd half of the series. Once again, this is the Sim Racing Media broadcast booth. Jonathan Leach, Alan Bergen for the Icon Holiday Mixer Series. Folks, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Holiday Mixer Series. We're on lap 54. So far, Nathan Finnegan and Jacob Smith are leading this piece as we're getting ready to come back down to the green flag. The Iracing.com pace car getting ready to make that hard left turn. We'll be going through the Geico restart zone in about 3, 2, 1. Not yet, boys. Take it easy. Take it easy. Geico restart zone coming up, and we are back to green flag racing here at lap number 54 as Nathan Finnegan is going to get the whole shot.
Yeah, so we got the second half of racing to go here. It's going to be 45 laps. These guys are going to have to make at least one green flag pit stop in order to get to the end based on what we heard from Ryan Patty. Finnegan finally out front in this one. Managed to get the lead on pit stops. Jacob Smith having an excellent pit stop as well. Now he is P2, and he was pushing Finnegan through 3 and 4. Adam Ball's right behind him. Brian Smith, however, on the way around, went back in, got extra fuel. He will now have to come from the rear of the field. I know it's only 12 machines to get to the front, but he still has to come from the rear of the field, and Hanover Fist had a 1.5 minute pit lane time. Perhaps he had trouble, and we're going to try to find out if anything did go wrong for him.
That's Ric Flair on the hood of that race car. That's the Nature Boy.
Unfortunately, I'm not seeing anything in particular that would have caused a particular problem for his machine while coming in on pit road. We've got some data that tells us for passes and entering pit lane, and I don't see anything for him that would be indicative of a problem on pit road. But I can only assume that there was a problem, and that's what has caused the driver number 69 machine to be one lap down.
Well, I tell you one driver I'm impressed with right now, and that's Braxton DeWeese. He has climbed all the way back up to top 5 right now. Ryan Patty's going to be right underneath him. And I believe that car is back up to par, where at least it's drivable now.
We're going to take a look right here. This is the first time he entered pit road. But it shows that he came down pit road twice. So perhaps he ended up giving a position up. Oh, there's a lot of damage here. But what occurred to make this damage happen to this machine?
I think I know why he's a lap down too. He entered a closed pit.
Trying to figure out what could have happened that caused problems for the number 69 machine, but just unable to see anything. We recognize he's got a lot of damage. Back to live racing right here. Just can't really tell you exactly what happened. At some point on the last couple laps, we missed an incident and weren't alerted to it through our timing and scoring. Apologize for not seeing it, but back to racing up front. Finnegan leads the way. Jacob Smith is P2. Brian Smith not really getting through the field, but perhaps he's not intending to.
Yeah, Brian Smith getting ready to come up to the field. Whoa, hello. Adam Ball is going to put himself right there between Jacob Smith and Patrick Colby there in that number 9 car. Meanwhile, right behind them, you got Braxton DeWeese and Ryan Patty. Now, the YouTube.com live chat begs to differ on Braxton DeWeese's car, as they're saying it's drivable, but still lacking a little pace.
Well, he's definitely figured out how to drive it with what he's got going on. You can see a little crinkle right there on the left rear. And it just doesn't seem to be affecting too much while he's in traffic or within the draft here. And you see Jacob Smith look to the low sides and come back to the high side, kind of like the Indianapolis Snake. Patrick Colby thought he might have been clear of Ryan Patty, but Patty was there. So 2 wide, battling for the 4th position here, 5th position, just in front of them, Adam Ball trying to close the door. He does keep the door closed. A battle a little bit further back for Kyle Gilbert and the driver of number 24, Brock Hersey, to the inside of him.
Yeah, Hersey and Kyle Gilbert battling it out pretty hard. Now, that's not what you want on a racetrack like this. You kind of want to be single filed out and kind of play in leapfrog, especially when you got a little over 40 laps to go.
Yeah, so 38 laps remaining up front. Ryan Patty showing that he does have the speed to potentially win this race. It's going to be real tight as he slides in between the 19 and the 21. He was looking to get by the 21. I assume he recognized he wasn't going to make the pass and didn't want to put himself in a perilous situation to lose numerous positions to those drivers behind him. So, racing is just as much chess at high speeds, in this case 205 miles per hour, as it is just getting around the racetrack.
Yeah, I would say it's a 207 mile an hour chess match going on right now, or or if you will, a 207 mile an hour game of poker.
And
Who's going to show their hand?
So Adam Ball is going to lose a position to Patrick Colby, but again, everybody has to make a pit stop. So it seems to me that most of these guys are just content staying together, and after they get to this pit stop and they make their stop, that's when they're going to know where they're at and what it's going to potentially take to get to the win, if they're going to be able to do that. Big wiggle right there from the 21 is going to open the door for Ryan Patty, who's looking high, looking low, decides to look low. He's going to really drive hard into turn number 1. Will he be able to get the drive off to pass the 21? The 21's not going to give him any room. Patty's sliding up. They are going to make contact. A lot of wiggle. Patrick Colby dives left to avoid what he thought was surely a wreck, and Ryan Patty's gonna make that work for P2. Patrick Colby looking to pass the 21 now.
Jonathan Leach's voice just went higher than an octave higher than he just was able to speak, but
Patty
nonetheless.
Wow.
A lot of action going on here.
And Ryan Patty in the grass right there, thought for sure that was going to send that car up the track, around, right in front of the rest of the field. It did not. And these guys all over the place. Going to check to see if the track temperature's changed. It's actually gone down. So it's just that the aggression and the ability of the drivers, or what they think they can make their machine do, has increased, as here comes Mike Jennings, and the guys in the back are starting to move forward.
Well, if you think this section is good here this week, wait till next week when
trouble right there.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
There we go.
And that's a hard hit. That's a hard hit.
24 continues on in the 227. It's going to be the second caution of the evening, not counting the stages. It's going to be a rough hit for Kyle Gilbert. All the drivers are going to come down and get fuel, I assume, but we haven't got enough laps to be able to get fuel and get to the end from this point.
Unfortunately not, but man, that was a hard hit for, as you said, for Kyle Gilbert. And if he doesn't have a chiropractor on standby, he'd probably need to think about that one. I mean, here they come down that front straightaway.
Wow.
I don't know if Hersley didn't think he was there, or I mean, I'm betting dollars to donuts that, Kyle Gilbert was screaming on the radio, not clear.
Well, here you are with Hersey, and we know he's on the inside of him. Yeah, just coming down, and it looks like he notices it right at the last second that he's there, and it just wasn't, not enough time. One more time, we'll watch from the in-car of Gilbert right here, who's just got to be shocked. Yeah, at the first glance from Gilbert, it just looks like he turned right into you. I don't think that's exactly what happened. Almost gets crushed right there on the track. Avoids it. Might live to fight another day as all the drivers down pit road.
Lap 67. All the drivers are going to come down pit road, get another set of Dr. Feelgood's more goat baths. And John, I think now would be well, after they get their pit stops, let's pick on somebody else here in the race chat. All right, I think I have our lucky contestant here, and it's going to be one Mr. Brock Hersley in that 24 car. Brock Hersley, it's Alan and John up in the SRM booth. You got a copy?
Got a copy. What's going on, fellas?
Hey, man. I mean, that was a rough wreck that you just had there. But take us through that wreck and how did it all transpire from your point of view?
And we were racing good, having some back and forth battles right there, and I knew he was under me like that. I knew he was there, and I don't know what happened. I don't know if I hit something in the track, a little bump, but the car just pulled left just enough, and I didn't even feel like I turned, but it was what it was. It was on me, but I'm still perplexed.
Yeah. So is it conducive to how the track feels right now in your point of view, on how slick it might be, and it looks like the track temperature's going down a little bit?
I would say it's possible, but like I said, that one I'm taking full responsibility. I'm not even talking about track conditions for that one. Like I said, I knew he was there, and we were side by side, and I just felt my car kind of pull to the left, and it was too late at that point. So track conditions or not, that's on me.
All right, man. Well, we're going to get you back down to your race chat as we're getting ready to go 2x2 Noah's Ark style behind that race.com pace car. So good luck, and hopefully we'll be talking to you down the other end.
Appreciate it, guys. Thanks for all you do up there.
Yep, and that was the voice of Brock Hersley. As we're going to get him down one more. There he goes. Lights are extinguished, and the lights are out around the speedway here, as Nathan Finnegan holds down the top spot currently. Jacob Smith to his outside, as we are getting ready to come down to the Geico restart zone out of turn 3 and 4 complex. And Finnegan and Smith comes to the Geico restart zone. And we are green flag racing once again here in Michigan.
Yeah, worth mentioning how close these drivers got to each other for the restart as we come to green on lap 70. 30 laps remaining to crown the winner here in the Holiday Mixer Series for Icon. Has got a little bit of a movement right there. A little bit of a movement. I can't figure out what to say. Ryan Patty lost a couple positions. Just got a little bit out of whack and had a couple cars go right by, move Ryan Patty back to 6th. Braxton DeWeese making a move currently on the 30 of Patty, trying to put him further down. And he's going to slide up in front of him, create the crossover. Here comes Ryan Patty back to his inside. A whole lot has just happened in one lap.
I think Braxton DeWeese's car is back to just about normal right now, as we got a two-way battle here for the lead between Jacob Smith and Nathan Finnegan. But here comes Patrick Colby. He's wanting to get in the mix on this also. And here comes, ladies and gentlemen, here comes Brian Smith in that number 78 car. He's looking on the inside. He's got a run.
And we've seen 3 of these drivers all have a run, with the only one not getting wicked sideways is Brian Smith. We saw Patrick Colby and we saw Jacob Smith both extremely sideways while trying to pounce on Finnegan. Smith made the corner a little smoother than the other guys, and that might bode well as he's looking to turn into turn number 1.
Here comes Brian Smith underneath Jacob Smith. It's a Smith on Smith battle out the back straightaway. Ooh, they make contact.
Both drivers trying to be clear. Advantage the 78. He is clear now. Is he going to try to slide up or hold his position? He's going to hold his lane. The other Smith is going to drive down the track, move the 78 to second. He's got his eyes set on Nathan Finnegan. Finnegan up 10 positions since the start of this one, with a little bit over a quarter of the race left to go. Drivers all staying together pretty well so far for the first 3 laps of this one. Back here, Jennings side by side with Braxton DeWeese. DeWeese going backwards.
Don't count DeWeese out of this just yet. He's still got that little bit of damage there on the left side, but shouldn't affect him too much. Oh, hang on to it.
Two cars in the wall as the number 9 of Jennings can go all the way from the top to the bottom. He's trying to defend the preferred line into turn number 1 right here, as you've got 3 machines right behind him. Advantage Jennings. He's going to be able to use the whole track in the corner unless DeWeese has something to say about it. He doesn't quite get there to take what could be the preferred line away. Ryan Patty at the top end of the screen making a little bit of contact, I think, right there with Patrick Colby. And, it's just a fight all the way around on the racetrack as Patty's trying to move his way back to the front.
Here comes Ryan Patty. Ryan Patty's been there in all these races so far. He's going to make a little bit of contact. He's going to keep it pointed in the right direction now.
A little tire wearing sound. Scrubbing. A lot of tire scrubbing there for a second, I heard. Jennings, gosh, it's just a hard fight everywhere. Jennings right in front of the 31 of Gunther. Gunther wiggling around because the 4, Cody Neal, is shoving him down the backstretch. I thought the 31 was going to try to sneak in between the 9 and the 8 right there. Open the door for the 4 of Cody Neal. And this is racing right here. This is for 9th. And, this isn't even the lead. As Smith is taking the lead from Finnegan. Finnegan looking to the inside again to contest that further. This could very well be the battle to decide who's going to win. It seems like when Smith does get out in front, he can check out. So Finnegan's going to have to fight for all he is worth to try to stay with Brian Smith.
Yeah, Nathan Finnegan looking to go back on the offensive and get that spot back from Brian Smith. But let's go back a little bit deeper in the field. There's the Patrick Colby and Jacob Smith battle. That's the battle for 3rd right now. Just to say that, Brian Smith is going to go ahead and go back to the front. He says bye-bye.
Yeah, these guys right here kind of side by side have brought Adam Ball into the mix here for 3rd, and close quarters racing for 3rd right here. And the same can be said a little bit further back, by these guys, Ryan Patty, DeWeese, and Cody Neal. No one's really given anybody an inch, and it's got a lot to say, with the respect of these guys. Seems that they're not too worried about running close with each other, as Colby kind of chopped the nose of the 21 right there. The 21 looking to do kind of a crossover style technique into turn 1. Not quite enough speed. Ryan Patty further back, trying to slide in front of that number 8 machine. He's gonna manage. Patty currently running into 8th position. He is 1 spot down from where he started the night.
Yeah, I mean, he's on a pretty good run right now. Brian Smith continues to lead this piece. But, we're getting down to the closing stages of this races, and there's still a whole lot of action. It's still anybody's ball game, if you will.
Yeah, and we're going to have another pit stop before the end of this one. So, I mean, there's only so much you can really do to get as many positions as possible. Any one of these guys can make a mistake entering pit road, exiting pit road, and, it could be a problem. So they've got to be clean, not tear up their machine for the next little while, get to the end from here, then see what happens.
Well, just as these guys are battling out, if you like what you see here with the Icon Series, tune in next Sunday as these guys will head to Dover in a Gen 6 car for 200 laps, 200 miles. And, John, that's the one I'm thoroughly excited for. And these guys are rocking and rolling their way to the end of this one.
Yeah,
I mean, I've always loved Dover.
Dover is a great race, and it's one that I'm pretty fond of. You know, it's very fast, a lot of banking. It's a racetrack that I enjoy driving on the virtual circuit, and so Dover will be a fun one.
All right, and here we are with Brian Smith and Nathan Finnegan. These guys are battling out. Here comes Patrick Colby, though. So we got some drivers, Brock Hersley, Kevin Gunther, and Braxton DeWeese coming down pit road to get their services. 20 laps to go, and the sands of the hourglass is starting to run out for Nathan Finnegan. Right now, Jacob Smith continues to try to catch Patrick Colby in that number 9 car. There's some of the drivers on pit road. As you see, Braxton DeWeese coming out after getting 4 tires.
Yeah,
Kevin Gunther on pit road.
Yeah, we're within 21 laps to the end, which means right now it's an opportunity to pit and make it to the end. Here come the drivers on track are going to put some of these guys a lap down. The drivers electing to get fuel and right sides. That's being Braxton DeWeese. Others going to get 4 tires. Hanover Fist found his way back to the lead lap. He's coming down pit road. I expect 4 tires for him. How long do you stay out if you're a leader? You know, the lap time fall off isn't that aggressive here. Only about a second so far, you know, from the best laps that these guys ran earlier in the race. And we're, 12, 15 laps into this run. The tires may not be hugely important as long as it stays green. And with 10 laps to go, I think your advantage, having a 6 second or a 10-second faster stop might be better than getting 4 tires. But if there is a caution, the tires are more important.
Yeah, and I've said this on previous broadcasts. I developed a new plan, and I'm sure Brian Smith is going to go with it too. It's called the Maxwell House. Get every drop you can out of that fuel tank before you come down pit road.
That just doesn't always work. It's Adam Ball, Ryan Patty coming down as well. Earlier in the race, certainly you could do that, but you don't want to do that now because you're going to give up time. But that's just my train of thought, not to discount yours. Anyway, up front, Brian Smith trying to stay in front of losing my train of thought. Nathan Finnegan trying to get his lap back the hard way. He's going to do so. And this is going to be hugely important. How far is Brian Smith willing to go in order, as he waits right here? Because his competition is Finnegan. For certain, here comes Ryan Patty. Finnegan's already passed by him. So now Finnegan is faster than Brian Smith by about that second a lap. Smith can't afford to go very long unless he's intending on just a gas and go.
And I would probably put a paycheck on that gas and go. I think that's going to be the strategy.
Yeah, we are seeing mixed strategies. Mike Jennings, fuel only, and our right sides only. Right sides for Braxton DeWeese. That could be an advantage. Patrick Colby down pit road. We're going to see what he chooses to do. Jacob Smith and Brian Smith, the Smith guys, are the only 2 not to have pit yet. So Colby's still coming down. Curious to see what he's going to do. Watching the leaders. And it's worth mentioning Finnegan is about a quarter of a backstretch ahead now. Colby 6, 7, 8 seconds. Right sides did go up. Left side's up. Patrick Colby taking 4 tires with 15 to go. Brian Smith looked like he tried to come down pit road and had trouble with Ryan Patty. Likely, possibly speeding. So when he was trying to enter pit road, he had traffic in front of him. And that really, really cost him. We're going to try to back it up here just a little bit so you can see. So he's coming down So here he is coming into turn number 4. Ryan Patty chasing him down. Smith currently live, getting 4 tires. Brian Smith not. And he had to wait for Patty to pass him, and it messed up his entrance. He might have gotten it slowed up. We're going to find out in just a minute. So here's Smith exiting pit road. There's Patty passing him again. Smith's going to find himself in 6th, maybe 7th or 8th. Braxton DeWeese is in the lead with 3 seconds over Nathan Finnegan, right sides only, and he pitted first. So pitting first did do something for him. The question is, can he hold off Nathan Finnegan with 4 fresh tires for 13 more laps? Now it's a cat and mouse game. Everybody can make it to the end. Finnegan is running faster, but only by 0.6 of a second. Math says he'll get there, but that can always fall off. And the next closest set of fresh tires is 5 seconds and a quarter back in 5th, and that's Ryan Patty.
Right now, Braxton DeWeese is running for his life right now, as he's got Nathan Finnegan closing fast. You can see that interval just shrinking second by second.
And trying to pull it up on screen right here for you to see it. And there you can see in the bottom right corner, you know, DeWeese is out front. He's got 2 seconds on Finnegan, 3 seconds on Jennings, or 3.5 seconds on Jennings. If we can go further back here on the screen, and you can see Brian Smith, he's got 4.5 seconds on Smith, who's got the freshest tires, running the fastest laps of the race. So Smith running roughly 38.37. I want to look at Nathan Finnegan. So he's half a second faster than Finnegan with 10 to go. If he can hold that pace, or 11 to go, he might be able to get there, but I'm just not sure if he will.
Well, right now, when it comes to Nathan Finnegan, the sands of the hourglass are starting to run out. As we got 11 laps to go, that 8 car is going to be tough to beat. He's tough to beat anywhere. You put him in any league, and he's hard to beat.
And tough to beat is right, but, you know, I would say time isn't running out fast enough as Finnegan has closed the gap. I mean, by 2.5 seconds in 4 laps, Alan. So Braxton DeWeese is going to lose first place to Finnegan, barring a miracle. Finnegan is just faster, and he's coming, but Brian Smith is faster than both of them. Significantly faster, and Smith is looking, and he's coming for Nathan Finnegan. He's taken that 5-second gap, cut it in half under 2 laps. Brian Smith is coming for this race.
Yeah, here comes Brian Smith in that 78 car. He's, you know, it's funny, these guys have never really been truly on that yellow line or truly right next to the wall. They've been about a half a lane either way. Right now, Jennings is underneath Ryan Patty, and this is a battle for 5th position. Here comes Patrick Colby. He's gonna get himself in there.
It's really hard to give one of these drivers an advantage when it's 3 close quarters racing like this. Colby now in the middle, Jennings to the high side. If he can get a good run out of the corner, he can be side by side with them. It's not going to work out as Colby's going to be underneath the number 30 machine. Down the front stretch, advantage barely for Ryan Patty, and I do think I'd rather be on the high side right here, preventing Patrick Colby to drive, you know, to drive up the track. But he is going to be able to clear Patty, move Colby up to 5th. And Finnegan has caught DeWeese with 8 laps to go. So not to mention, you know, he was chasing him down aggressively, Alan. And he's here, but Brian Smith is also here.
Yeah, and, you know, as you alluded to, here comes the tale of 2 lines. You know, there he goes. There he goes, 7 to go. Nathan Finnegan takes the lead away from Braxton DeWeese. Here comes Brian Smith. And he's to the door of the bumper, and He's going to get him cleared pretty easily with 7 laps to go.
I mean, he does get him clear. Finnegan's got 0.2 of a second. Smith really going to drive hard into the corner. He's only got 4-lap fresher tires, but Smith, just the class of the field today. Finnegan a fairly close second, but maybe just not quite enough as Smith looking to the inside to go by. Finnegan racing fair and clean. And this isn't over yet, but the advantage is certainly in Smith's corner.
There goes Brian Smith back to the lead, doing Brian Smith things coming up too. And you can't really say he's high, wide, and handsome because he's not. He's got Nathan Finnegan all over him.
I mean, he just passed Nathan Finnegan. I don't know how he's all over him, Alan. I'm going to give you a hard time with some of the calls there. I want to think about Braxton DeWeese, though, with the damage, really, if he can pull out a P3 tonight, that's an outstanding finish based on a little bit of strategy, repairing the car, and, using less tires to his advantage for track position. If he can pull out a top 3 and hold off Jacob Smith, which has the same amount of tires, he picked up 2. P3 is not anything to hold your head down on, and it'll be pretty neat to talk to him post-race.
Yeah, as Brian Smith continues, he's starting to open up that gap almost to a second advantage over Nathan Finnegan. But I mean, I can't say much about can't say enough about Jacob Smith. I lost my train of thought for a minute, where my thought was headed. He's been there all night, along with Patrick Colby in that number 9 car.
And Cody Neal having to come down pit road. Not sure if this is for fuel or for something else. Maybe didn't get enough fuel in it. Did anybody else not get enough fuel in it? They should all be able to get there from 86 to 100. Although 81 to 100 is pretty close. Kyle Gilbert is on pit road. Cody Neal. Smith slowly stepping away. Here comes Jacob Smith chasing down Braxton DeWeese. I'm not sure DeWeese is going to be able to hold him off for that 3rd place. His tires are 6 laps older and with a little bit of damage, but doing everything he can to take that, the main line away. He's going to make Smith get around him the hard way.
It's definitely not going to make it easy for Jacob Smith to get around him. He could be trying to make Jacob Smith burn up his stuff just a little bit more.
Yeah, it's the cat and mouse game. As the 21 looked like he was about to nudge the 8, just following right in his tire tracks. That doesn't seem to really get you by a car, in my opinion. But here comes the 21. He is going to slide to the inside, out of turn 4, side by side down the front stretch. If I'm Braxton DeWeese, I would be right next to that 21 machine, but he's racing him clean, giving him a lot of room. Now he brings it down, but a little too late. I think 21's going to take this position away. He's still not quite clear. What a drive off for the 8, but he's going to get out of the throttle so he doesn't end up in the wall. And the 21's going to hit the wall. That's going to force the 8 into the wall, and Patrick Colby is going to sail right by both of them.
Patrick Colby, what a race here. As they're getting ready to come down to the white flag. Had Jacob Smith all over that 9 car, not giving up, not losing a ton after hitting the wall.
Wow, these guys are really going back and forth at it. A little further back, you got Brock Hersey, Kevin Gunther. This is for 8th. Pretty close battle. We're going to go back to these guys as it's a little bit more exciting. As the 21, wicked loose right there, catches the car, is going to give up his opportunity perhaps on the last lap to get 3rd place. Smith sailing through 4. This is the white flag, ladies and gentlemen. Nathan Finnegan's P2. Colby, is Hersey going to be able to get by? He will not. Braxton DeWeese is going to come home with 5th. Patty will be 6th. And there's a 21 trying everything he can, but P3 is going to go to the number 9 of Patrick Colby. Finishes where he starts. Brian Smith was on the pole. He is the car of tomorrow, race winner 2 times now in the holiday mixer season for Icon. And once again, Nathan Finnegan is going to finish 2nd. Just, that's heartbreaking. He's been there 3 times now, finishing 2nd. and not quite able to win the race.
What a race that was, though.
And keep an eye here on Brian Smith, two-time winner now in the Mixer Series. I'm starting to see a guy to watch when the season comes around, Alan.
Yeah, you're 100% correct there, John. We're gonna start getting these drivers up to the broadcast booth, if you will. We work on getting our race winner up here to have a chat with them.
All right, Alan, looks like Brian's not quite available yet, so let's go ahead and talk to P3 Patrick Colby, if you can bring him in.
Looks like, our race winner is up here.
We'll take that back as Smith has joined the booth.
Brian, it's John and Alan in the SRM booth. How's it going, bud?
Hey guys, doing pretty good tonight, as you can tell from the results.
I would say so. I didn't think for a minute there. I was a little concerned if you'd be able to drive through the field, but you knocked off 2.5 seconds in 3 laps, and we could tell if the rest was pretty much history. And on the last pit stop. But my question for you, congratulations on the win. And what made you go long when everybody else was pitting in front of you? And did you feel like you might have been given the race up as you were waiting and continuing to click laps off?
The only time I felt like I might have been given the race up was when I went and topped off on fuel to start that final stage. It was looking like a 48 lap run, and I think we could do like 23 laps on fuel. So I was just gonna try and save a lap on each run. I was gonna assume it went green, and obviously it didn't. So that didn't work out, but thankfully I had the speed to get back up to the front. And once I saw Finnegan pit, I want to say it was like 19 to go. I was like, I'm just gonna go a few extra laps so that I have enough tire. If I do get back to him, I'll be able to do something. I won't just be riding behind him trying to pass him on the bottom, because it was actually kind of tricky to pass tonight, but thankfully still got it done. Nailed the strategy, nailed the pit road entry, and the rest is history. It all worked out.
Yeah, well, congratulations on winning the race, and makes you a 2-time winner in the Mixer Series. Looks something for us to look forward to if we're producing the next season to come after the holiday season, as far as you racing. Your next one, you're doing this again here next weekend, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe we're going to Dover next week, as Alan mentioned. What are your thoughts going into that race?
Yeah, Dover's always been one of my best tracks, and I've been on the sim now for I think like 12 years. So most of that was during the Gen 6 era, and I do believe we're driving the Gen 6 car next weekend. So that'll be a car track combo that I am very familiar with, and I think I'll do even better than I did tonight. So we'll just have to see what happens.
Yeah, it certainly is the Gen 6 Cup car. I like how the series did it. 87 car, the Gen 4, the COT for today at Michigan, the 6 next week. And then to wrap it all up right before the new year, you'll be in the next gen car. And it's cool to note that the series winner is going to get a free Icon Cup Series charter. Something I wasn't aware of, that you guys were doing charters, but that's pretty neat. You don't have to pay your way in, I suppose.
Yeah, I swept the stages tonight and got the win. So I'd say just another step forward to that free charter, which is obviously the goal. So we'll have to see how these next 2 races go. I think Finnegan's going to have a lot of speed at both those tracks, and you never know who else could challenge for it.
Right on. Brian, the floor is yours. Anyone you want to mention before we let you go?
Just want to say thanks for you guys for doing the broadcast, and shout out to everyone that was on track tonight. They did a great job overall of keeping it green. So it's been a lot of fun in the holiday series, and hopefully we can keep going these last 2 weeks.
All right, Brian, thanks for the time. I hope you enjoy your night, and maybe we'll talk to you next week.
Yep, thanks, guys.
All right, and that was Brian Smith. Nathan Finnegan, our second place finisher. Nathan, it's Alan and John in the SRM booth. How's it going?
Hey, how we doing, guys?
Hey, man, you were there all night hanging tough with Brian Smith, but couldn't quite get the race to go your way. What more could you needed out of the car to maybe contend for that win?
Yeah, we just had a really tough time with the balance in the right front and saving that a little bit better. I think honestly, if we had a little bit more practice time, I didn't get in as early as I would have liked to. Yeah, I think that could have helped make a little bit of a difference, but I got to give hats off to the 78. That thing was on rails all night. I just had nothing for him really, except for trying to throw a Hail Mary and do something a little bit different with the tire strategy and do the undercut on that final green flag pit stop and see if that would be enough to cover. And yeah, no, just couldn't stop him on his pace. But congrats to Brian for the win.
Yeah, and I mean you're so close to getting that win. So what's your thoughts as next week we head to Dover and then in the Gen 6 car for 200 laps next weekend?
Yeah, a little bit more comfortable with the Gen 6. To be honest, this was one of my first races ever running the COT. Really wasn't on the surface when this was around, so don't have a ton of experience driving it. Gen 6 a lot more familiar with, and Dover being a track we really enjoy. Get back to those short track routes, and yeah, I think we'll have a good showing over there.
All right, man. Well, before we get you out of here, who do you like to think to help get here tonight?
Big shout out to you guys. Thank you guys for doing what you do and covering our league races, and big shout out to the CCR ECR crew. Parents tuning in and my wife tuning in, and yeah, hope to put on a good show again next week.
All right, man. Well, congratulations on that P2 finish. We'll get you back down there and let you celebrate that with your team.
Thanks, guys.
And John, opting out of the interview tonight is Patrick Colby, finishing third. Unfortunately, he opted out of the interview. So that being said, we'll go ahead and take a look at our race results.
All right, we're going to get results on screen now. Tonight's race results, of course, we know Brian Smith is tonight's race winner with an excellent, really ran an excellent race, and can't say enough about Nathan Finnegan. Based on Sim Racer Hub and the stats that we were reading pre-race, 3 second-place finishes in a row, just hasn't quite been able to figure it out. We heard from him that he feels good about going into the Gen 6 car at Dover, but we also heard Brian Smith, who said that he expects to perform better next week as well. So will Brian Smith walk away with, 3 wins, or will it be somebody else? So Finnegan, Jacob Smith, Patrick Colby, all guys that could have won the race. And Alan, you said you're pretty familiar with Braxton DeWeese, who finishing 5th with damage on some strategy. What a drive for the driver number 8, Braxton DeWeese. And as the sim has timed out for us, Ryan Patty finishes 6th. 7th is Mike Jennings. Kevin Gunther is 8th. Brock Hersey and Hanover Fist finished 9th and 10th, where they started. Adam Ball, Cody Neal, and Kyle Gilbert, who took that bad hit while being very competitive in this race, finishes a very lackluster 13th, 11 spots under where he qualified. So driver that didn't finish where he deserved on the 227, Kyle Gilbert, finishing 13th. Alan, I want to thank you for being a part of the show and the Sim Racing Media family icon. And Ryan Patty, thanks for choosing us on your Sunday evenings to bring your drivers to the world. And we look forward to next week to do it again. And it should be Dave Regal and Shane Lake in the booth As Tony Trapasso used to say, ladies and gentlemen, as you walk through life, please do not play in traffic. Good night.